Okay, let's unpack this. In an age where, well, almost all our communication happens online, how do you truly ensure your private emails stay private?
It's a huge question, and it gets more complex all the time.
Exactly. And it's exactly what we're diving into today. We're exploring the bedrock technologies of email encryption, pretty good privacy, PGP.
And its open source cousin, GPG, GNU Privacy Guard.
Right, and also secure multipurpose internet mail extensions, or CY.
Three big players in the space.
Yeah, and to guide us, we've gathered a really interesting mix of sources. We've got a detailed GISC paper digging into PGP attacks.
Which sounds pretty technical.
It is, but useful.
Yeah.
Then there's a lively Reddit discussion comparing GPC and CI, always good for real-world takes.
Oh yeah, Reddit never holds back.
Definitely not. We also looked at official sites, GNOPG, Sectigo, PointSharp, and articles from Virtue in Securing Digital Communication that explore, the challenges and vulnerabilities.
So good cross-section.
Our mission is to cut through the noise, understand what these things are, how they work, their strengths, weaknesses, and ultimately what it really takes to protect your digital messages.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is that this desire for privacy isn't new at all, but the urgency? It's absolutely skyrocketed in our digital age.
Totally.
Think about it. An email sent over an insecure network, like the internet. It's basically no more secret than writing on a postcard.
That's a great analogy.
And courts have confirmed there's no inherent legal expectation of privacy for email. So encryption isn't just like a tech feature. It's the digital equivalent of putting your letter in a securely sealed envelope.
Right, the actual protection. And here's where it gets really interesting. PGP, pretty good privacy. It came out of a very specific moment, didn't it?
It did. Phil Zimmerman, 1991.
Yeah, and partly as a response to a U.S. Senate bill that wanted to force backdoors into secure communications. That bill failed, thankfully.
Thankfully, yes.
But PGP just grew and grew, became a de facto standard. So at its heart, how does PGP actually work? How does it secure our messages?
Well, PGP is what we call a hybrid system. It's quite clever, really.
Hybrid.
Meaning?
It uses two types of cryptography. For the actual email content, it uses fast, efficient, symmetric encryption. Think of that like using the same key to lock and unlock a vault. Fast, but sharing that key securely is tricky.
Okay, so how does it share the key?
That's where the second part comes in. Asymmetric or public key cryptography. This uses two keys, one public, one private.
Right, the public key you can share with anyone.
Exactly. Others use your public key to encrypt that single-use symmetric key for you. And only your private key, which you keep absolutely secret, can decrypt it and then unlock the message content.
Ah, so you get the speed of symmetric for the bulk of the data and the security of asymmetric for the key exchange. Best of both worlds.
Precisely. It's a very elegant solution. And PGP has evolved its specific algorithms over time, of course.
Which makes sense. You have to keep up with the threats. Absolutely. Older versions use things like RSA, but later ones shifted to Diffie-Hellman-Elgamal and strong symmetric ciphers like AES or Twofish. The core idea is a suite of well-regarded, battle-tested algorithms.
It's built on a solid foundation.
A very solid foundation. And that brings us naturally to GNOPG, or GPG.
Which is the one people hear about a lot now.
Yes, GPG is essentially the free and open source implementation of the Open PGP standard, which PGP also follows. It's famously the tool Edward Snowden used.
Right.
And it's widely adopted because it's open, transparent, and respects user freedom. No backdoors.
So that's the PGP-GPG family, built on this idea of a web of trust, which is fascinating in itself. But not everyone uses that model. Our sources show another major player, MIME, takes a very different approach, more corporate, maybe.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
SMEM, Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension, was developed by RSA Security around the same time, actually.
Yeah.
It extends the MIE protocol. That's the thing that lets emails have attachments and formatting by adding crypto. But the core difference, as you said, is the trust model.
Not the web of trust.
No. FIME relies on a hierarchical public key infrastructure, a PKI.
PKI sounds official.
It is. Think of it like a global passport office. You have trusted certificate authorities. CAs companies like Sectigo are examples. They act like the passport agency.
Issuing what? Digital passports?
Sort of. They issue X.509 digital certificates. These aren't just keys. They're digital documents that bind a public key to a verified identity, a person or an organization.
So it's verified from the top down.
Exactly. The sender uses the recipient's public key from their certificate, issued by a trusted CA, to encrypt the message. Only the recipient's corresponding private key can decrypt it.
And it handles signatures, too, for authenticity.
Yes, SME also provides digital signatures using the private key, proving the sender's identity and ensuring the message hasn't been tampered with.
And you see this used a lot in certain sectors, right?
Hugely prevalent in corporate, government, healthcare, think IPA, compliance law firms, largely because it's often built right into email clients like Outlook, Apple Mail. Makes it pretty seamless in those environments.
Okay, so IPAGO offers that verified identity integrated experience, especially for organizations. But, whether it's Web of Trust or CAs, no security system is perfect.
Never is. There's always a potential weak point.
And that GIAC paper really drives this home. It talks about two main kinds of attacks, practical and theoretical. Let's start with the practical ones. Those often exploit, well, us human factors or how things are set up.
Exactly. Practical attacks often go for the lowest hanging fruit, the user, the system setup. One of the most common is compromising your passphrase or private key.
How does that usually happen?
Weak passphrases guessed by brute force, dictionary attacks, or malware like keyboard loggers capturing what you type.
Scary stuff. What's the defense?
Strong, unique passphrases are critical. Don't reuse them. And secure that private key file. Put it on an encrypted USB drive, maybe store it offline, and never, ever store the passphrase on the same machine as the key.
Like keeping your PN with your bank card.
Precisely. It defeats the purpose. If you even suspect a compromise, revoke that key pair immediately. Generate a new one. Don't wait.
Got it. What other practical attacks are there?
Another big one is public key tampering. An imposter tricks you into using their fake public key instead of the real one.
So you encrypt the message, thinking it's secure.
And the imposter decrypts it easily with their corresponding private key. The defense. Only trust keys you get directly from the owner, or keys signed by people you already trust implicitly. That's the web of trust idea in action.
Or using verified directories in a company setting.
Right. Centralized key servers, or CAs, help manage this in enterprises. Full names and key IDs also help avoid ambiguity.
Okay, what else? Are our computers themselves a risk?
They can be. Operating system vulnerabilities are a factor. People often don't realize that deleted files aren't truly gone.
Right. They can often be recovered.
Exactly. And word processors might create temporary files holding plain text. So use wiping utilities that securely overwrite data and physically destroy old hard drives or USBs. Don't just toss them.
Good advice. And malware. Trojans.
Absolutely. Trojan horse attacks.
Yeah.
Imagine downloading what you think is PGP or GPG, but it's a rogue version designed to steal your keys or messages.
Ugh.
So always get software from official, trusted sources. Verify downloads using checksums or digital signatures is available. Keep your antivirus updated, use firewalls, patch your systems. Basic cyber hygiene is key.
And then there's the human element again, social engineering.
Yes, non-technical attacks.
Yeah.
Someone looking over your shoulder surfing, bribery, extortion, dumpster diving for discarded notes. It could be anyone, even a coworker.
It sounds like a spy movie sometimes.
It can feel like it. The defense here is common sense, good awareness, and strong company policies for handling sensitive information. As one source put it, if someone's going to this much effort to target you specifically.
You might have bigger problems than just email encryption.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot on the practical side. It really highlights how security is a chain, and the human link is often the easiest to break. But what about the really complex stuff, the mathematical attacks, the cryptanalysis, the stuff that sounds, super advanced?
Right, the theoretical attacks. These try to find weaknesses in the actual encryption algorithms using heavy-duty mathematics. They're usually incredibly expensive and time-consuming.
So mostly nation-states, maybe?
Generally, yes. Formidable adversaries, as the paper puts it. There are passive attacks where they just observe. Maybe they have samples of both the encrypted text and the original plain text and try to find mathematical patterns to break the cipher itself.
Does PGP give them clues?
Well, PGP headers do state the encryption method used, which gives attackers a known starting point, a hint about the lock they're trying to pick.
Okay. And active attacks?
Active attacks involve interacting with the system, maybe altering data. A classic is the man-in-the-middle attack.
How does that work with encryption?
Imagine an attacker intercepts your encrypted message, maybe scrambles it slightly, and forwards it. You receive gibberish. If you're tricked into replying, and your email client automatically encrypts that reply using the scrambled message somehow, the attacker might learn something about the original message by analyzing your reply.
That sounds complicated. How would they trick you?
It usually requires clever social engineering. making the scrambled message look like a legitimate error, perhaps. The countermeasure is basic caution. Don't just sign or encrypt random things you receive. Verify what you're interacting with.
Makes sense. And finally, what about just trying every single key? Brute force.
Ah, brute force, trying every possible combination. For modern encryption, the key spaces are astronomically large.
Like impossibly large.
Pretty much. The cryptographer Bruce Schneier famously calculated that using the entire energy output of the sun wouldn't be enough to brute force a 197-bit key.
Wow. Okay, so the math is strong.
The math, when implemented correctly with sufficient key lengths, say 2048-bit RSA or equivalent, strong AES, is incredibly robust. The defense is simply using appropriately long keys and updating them as computing power increases over time.
That's actually reassuring. So while the math holds up, the real battle seems to be around implementation, usability, and just human error. Which brings us back to the choice, PGP-TPG versus SMIME.
Right.
That Reddit discussion really highlighted the dilemma. This user, Shadow Corp, running a security business, is torn. They need strong security, obviously, but also something clients find easy to use, something that looks better in corporate environments.
Yeah, that thread nails the core trade-offs, and it really boils down again to those fundamental trust models.
The centralized PKI for SMIME versus the decentralized web of trust for PGP-TPG.
Exactly. With SMIME, you're relying on those third-party CAs to verify identity. It's structured, hierarchical. With PGP-GPG, trust is built peer-to-peer. Users vouch for each other by signing keys.
So with PGP-GPG, the responsibility is much more on you and your network to verify identities.
Absolutely. You or your community are the arbiters of trust. Which model is better depends entirely on your context and needs.
And this difference directly impacts usability, right?
Massively. SMIME generally wins on usability and integration within certain ecosystems. It's often described as way more polished in Outlook, Apple Mail, on iPhones. It integrates with Office 365. For corporate clients, that seamlessness is a huge plus.
Whereas PGP-GPG.
PGP-GPG often requires more manual setup. Find and installing add-ons, maybe using command line tools. There's definitely a steeper learning curve, especially for non-technical folks. That's a real hurdle.
What about the claim that SIME is more secure? Is there truth to that?
It's questionable. The core encryption in both can be equally strong if you're using modern algorithms and long keys. Neither standard's fundamental crypto has been widely broken. The security often depends more on implementation, key management, and user practices than the standard itself.
And they don't play well together, do they?
Generally, no. SKIMI and PGP-GPG are incompatible. You can't typically send an SME encrypted email to a GPG user and expect it to work seamlessly, or vice versa. You have to choose or manage both systems if you communicate with different groups.
Adding complexity, what about managing the keys themselves?
Key management differs too. SMIC certificates have set validity periods, usually a year. If your private key gets compromised during that year, all communications encrypted with the corresponding public key, past, present, future, until expiry, are potentially vulnerable.
Oof, that's a big risk.
It is. With PGP-GPG, a major point is key distribution. Public keys uploaded to public key servers are often difficult or impossible to delete. So your email address associated with that key is out there, potentially forever. Privacy implications there.
Are there other limitations to be aware of?
Yeah, a couple of key ones.
Yeah.
With SMIME, if a recipient doesn't have a certificate, they simply can't receive encrypted emails from you. Those signed emails usually work.
So it requires buy-in on both ends for encryption.
Right. And a limitation both share is that they typically only encrypt the message body, not the metadata subject line, sender, recipient, timestamps.
Which can still reveal a lot.
Definitely. Valuable intel for attackers planning social engineering. And both often struggle with large attachments due to email server size limits, like that common 25 millibit cap.
Okay, so neither is a perfect silver bullet. They have cryptographic strength, but these usability, management, and limitation issues are significant. And then came eFail in 2018. That sounded like a major blow to both.
eFail was definitely serious, yes. And crucially, it wasn't a flaw in the PGP or SMIME encryption algorithms themselves.
So the math was still good.
The math was good. The vulnerability lay in how email clients, the software like Outlook, Thunderbird, Apple Mail, handled HTML content within emails.
How did the attack work?
Researchers figured out they could take an encrypted email, modify it by injecting specific HTML code like hidden image tags, MMG, pointing to a server they controlled, and send it to the recipient.
Okay, then what?
When the recipient's email client opened the modified message and tried to render the HTML, like fetching that hidden image, It would first decrypt the necessary parts of the original message and inadvertently send the decrypted plaintext back to the attacker's server as part of the request.
Wow. So the email client itself was tricked into decrypting and leaking the content?
Exactly. It bypassed the encryption by exploiting flaws in how the surrounding application handled web content. And it could potentially reveal the content of past encrypted emails if an attacker got hold of them.
That's a critical lesson. The strongest crypto is only as good as the weakest link in the whole chain, including the software using it.
Precisely. It hammered home that implementation details matter enormously. It also reminded everyone that even with TLS encrypting emails in transit, messages often sit unencrypted on mail servers, potentially vulnerable if those servers are breached or keys are later compromised.
All these issues, complexity, usability, vulnerabilities like eFail, seem to paint a challenging picture. One source, the Virtue blog, talks about the slow decline of SMIME, calling it potentially a relic. Is that fair? And does it apply to PGP, GPG too?
It's a strong statement, but the sentiment reflects real challenges highlighted across our sources, and yes, they largely apply to PGP, GPG as well. The core problems are recurring themes.
Like the sheer difficulty of setup and use.
Absolutely. Cumbersome implementation and maintenance is huge. For SMIME, it's buying, distributing, managing, renewing certificates for everyone, a constant headache and cost for IT. For PGP, GPG, it's the complex key exchange, verification, teaching users the web of trust, also a major effort.
And the end user experience.
Often poor. Usability issues are a killer. For many people, it feels like a puzzle, not a protector. If it's not easy, people won't use it or they'll use it wrong. As one source said, even a small hurdle can derail the best tech solution.
Does it scale well for large organizations?
That's another major issue. Lack of scalability. Managing keys or certificates for thousands of employees, especially the people joining and leaving, is complex, costly, and introduces risk. Mistakes happen.
We mentioned the limited scope, too.
Right, limited scope, only encrypting the body, not metadata. Attachment size limits. For SMIME, the static key issue is significant. One compromised key risks a lot of data. And all this complexity leads to shadow IT risk employees finding easier, insecure ways to share information because the official solution is too hard.
So secure communication just can't happen easily or spontaneously with these methods alone.
That's the bottom line often highlighted. They require setup, coordination, technical understanding that isn't always practical for quick, ad hoc, secure messaging.
So if you're listening to this and thinking, wow, this sounds complicated and maybe a bit fragile, what are the options? If SME and PGP2PG have these hurdles, is there a simpler way forward? The sources mention some alternatives emerging.
Yes, there's definitely an ongoing effort to create more user-friendly solutions that address these pain points. Companies like PointSharp with their CryptShare product and Virtue are examples mentioned in the sources that aim for this.
What's their approach generally?
They aim for secure usability for all. The goal is often seamless integration into existing tools like Outlook or Gmail, but without requiring the end user or the IT department to manually manage certificates or PGP keys.
How do they achieve that?
Often through different architectural approaches, perhaps using secure portals, temporary secure links, or server-side processing, combined with client-side encryption that's more automated. They often claim to encrypt everything, body, subject, attachments, without size limits.
So simplifying the whole process.
That's the key selling point. Simplified setup, easier administration, better user experience. Many also add features like auditing trails for compliance or the ability to revoke access to a file after you've sent it.
Interesting. So the focus shifts from just pure encryption to the whole secure communication workflow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Automation, compliance, usability, trying to meet modern business needs, where ease of use is just as critical as the underlying security.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today, from PGP's rebellious origins and SMIME's corporate structure to the nitty-gritty of attacks, the eFail scare, and this idea of a slow decline due to usability challenges.
It's clear the cryptographic foundations themselves are often incredibly strong, really robust math.
But the real vulnerabilities, the friction points, seem to lie in implementation, integration, and just the human experience of using these tools. That insight that the strongest math can be undermined by a clunky interface or a software bug feels really crucial.
It absolutely is, and it raises an important question for everyone listening. Edward Snowden had that quote.
Oh, the nothing to hide one.
Arguing that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different from saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. It really makes you think.
Right.
So when it comes to your digital privacy, your digital speech. What steps will you take to protect it, knowing that an unencrypted email is still basically just a postcard out there for anyone to potentially read?